exciting.
1983 most certainly was the year of the new excitement for the state of Michigan. Of the 12 United States Football League teams, the Panthers flew highest of all. And for Panther fans everywhere, the excitement is back again.
All right, welcome to the Michigan Panther Cast, as we like to call this portion of the Olympics podcast. I am hardcore since 1983 Michigan Panther fan. Pete is over there, is not a USFL fan whatsoever. So this is an interesting experiment that we're running here on the podcast. A diehard with someone that is completely uninterested in the league, but I'm going to do my best to drag you along and get you interested. It's also the battle that the USFL itself is fighting. They've got some brand equity in people that remember the league from the 80s that they're going to be invested like me and are going to be on board from day one. But they're going to try to get people like you over there interested in the league. And we talked about that a little bit last week, how what the USFL had going for it the first time was star power. And, they had 3 Heisman Trophy winners in their 3 years in existence. So, they had, big names like Herschel Walker and Doug Flutie and Jim Kelly, Anthony Carter locally here. I'm not sure the USFL is going to be able to do that. It's certainly not in their early existence. It's just not set up to do so, especially with centralized ownership, and it's gonna be a struggle for a bit for the USFL. But I do believe with their TV contracts with 2 of the major networks already, ownership by one of those networks, they have the financial backing to be successful. The not a whole lot of news necessarily that I want to talk about this week, other than the Michigan Panther Cast on Twitter, USFL Panther Cast. We have breached the 250 follower mark.
Whoa.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone that's following the Panther Cast. Appreciate that. We are rising in popularity, as I've only had this Twitter feed going for 2 weeks. So already got over 250 followers. Appreciate that. I think my goal is to get to 1,983 followers eventually. That's going to be the goal I'm setting.
So clever.
To get to celebrate the 1983 championship, of course. But
I mean, Chicago. This is proof. If you have a bad team, which the Bears are, Detroit has a bad team. It's called the Lions. You bring in another team to play football, you will get people interested in it. That's part of what's happening with Smitty right here.
That absolutely happened with me back in the 80s, and it's happening again because the Lions have done nothing in that 40-year span to stem the tide. Michigan is starved for a respectable professional football team. So that is a recipe for success for Michigan, at least. I am surprised that the USFL didn't choose to revive the Chicago Blitz just for that reason. That might be something that could bring a non-fan like you into the fold of potentially. The things they do have on their side is it is spring football. There's little competition. If you're not a baseball fan, there's not a whole lot going on other than the beginning of the end of the NHL season and NBA seasons. But there is an opportunity in spring football for sure in April, May, and June that the USFLs and other leagues are going to try to exploit. So that's going to be fun to see how it plays out. But the only thing that was kind of newsy this week was the potential new site of the USFL in 2022 in Birmingham, Alabama. Protective Stadium is the name of it. Kind of a strange name. It's some weird sponsorship deal, but that is the home of the UAB Dragons, I think, University of Alabama, Birmingham. That was also the host of the Birmingham Bowl this week. Houston versus Auburn. So you kind of got USFL fans got a sneak preview of what games are going to look like there. Pretty nice stadium. I think it's 45,000 seats. Really new. It's all aluminum and concrete. I watched a little bit of that game, just knowing that that's where the USFL is going to be starting. So I thought that was kind of fun. I have no interest in Houston or Auburn, other than I root against SEC teams. But 45,000 seats. It was packed for that bowl game, of course, because it's in Alabama, where Auburn is located. I believe it's not even an hour-long drive, but got me to thinking, what's the stadium situation going to be? Well, first of all, in this first year, everyone playing at that stadium in Birmingham, Alabama, I think they'll get decent crowds, for the first couple weeks, probably. Certainly for Birmingham Stallions games, because that's the local team. But I'm a little concerned, how many people are going to be buying tickets or even bothering, even if they're giving away tickets at that point, to watch, my Panthers versus the Pittsburgh Maulers or some random matchup like that. I would love to go, but I don't see myself or even the most hardcore Michigan Panther fans getting on a plane to fly to Birmingham, Alabama. So I'm a little concerned not that they're looking for ticket revenue necessarily, but what the games are going to look like on television, as they are going to be broadcast on NBC and Fox and their cable channels. It's going to look kind of sad without a bunch of fans in the stands. So we'll see how that goes. But it got me to thinking further in the future, what kind of stadiums specifically my Panthers will be playing in, as presumably they will be moving, hopefully directly after the 2022 season, to play in Michigan someplace. There have, of course, been no announcements about that, no leads on what ownership might look like, or if they're going to have local owners. I believe that is the plan. If to sell franchises essentially from Fox to local ownership, and how they will work out stadium deals there. I can't believe they will be building a new stadium for a USFL team anywhere. So I'm presuming they will be renting or coming to some kind of agreement with existing stadiums. The first one that comes to mind, of course, is Ford Field, home of the Lions, owned by the Ford family. I'm not sure that makes a ton of sense on a few levels. First of all, the Lions own the field. I'm not sure they necessarily would have an interest in helping out the Michigan Panthers, although they did both play in the Pontiac Silverdome back in the day at the same time. I think that's where that assumption comes from, that the Panthers would immediately play at the same place the Lions do. There's a couple of reasons I'm not sure that would work. First of all, I'm not sure you want to put a USFL team in 70,000 seat stadium for the same reasons I mentioned, for 2022. They're not going to be drawing massive crowds immediately. I think eventually they could, as we did see, the first year of the Michigan Panthers, as they were successful, they did sell out the Silverdome. There were 65,000 people at their playoff game, which they stormed the goddamn field after winning that, clinching a berth in the first USFL championship game. Stormed the field, tore down the goalposts. It was melee at the Silverdome in 1983. You can check out some clips of that on our YouTube channel. But so there's the potential there. But again, I don't think you want to start out in a giant stadium like that. I think it might hurt the television product. But it makes you think about what other stadiums might be available. The same issue would be, not far down the road in Ann Arbor, the Big House, Michigan Stadium. But that would be even worse, as that houses 110,000. So, the 25 to potentially 30,000 people that you might be going to USFL games would look very, very small in that kind of stadium. Other potential places, would they come to East Lansing, to Spartan Stadium here, 8 miles away from where I'm sitting right now? I would fucking love that, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense for a professional franchise necessarily. They'll want to be by the larger population basis. So that I think it's going to stick around Detroit. Other stadiums across the state that could be potential, would they go to Ypsilanti, where Eastern Michigan plays? I forget the name of that stadium. That's a potential spot, not far out of Detroit. I don't think they would go to Kalamazoo or to Mount Pleasant, Central Michigan or Western Michigan's stadiums, as those are tiny Kalamazoo is a decent sized city, but Mount Pleasant is tiny. Who's going to go to a pro game up there? The one interesting idea I saw was if the Panthers might partner with a fledgling professional soccer team that has gained a great following in Detroit, the Detroit City FC. They've built their own smaller stadium. I think it's only 5,000 seats. But if they were looking to do bigger and better things, which I have heard rumors, they eventually would like to get into MLS, Major League Soccer, and might have some major investors. They would need a new stadium. And would the Panthers be interested in partnering with them to build a multi-use stadium they're in Hamtramck, right in Detroit? That would be super cool. I think that's a really complicated plan that I don't know if has any legs to it, but I thought that sounded interesting. But so that is news for much further down the road, but it just came to mind, seeing the future home of the USFL this week in Birmingham. As I can see Pete's eyes glazing over.
Wait, are you still talking?
And again, I mentioned this is a zealot of a USL fan and someone that has zero interest, but this is the battle that USFL is going to be fighting. I do want to talk to you directly about how we might get you interested in this league eventually. You're going to have to be interested because I'm going to bring it up every fucking week. So get ready. But
I don't have to be interested. I mean,
yeah. You could just become a Panther fan, but there's no real reason for you to do so. I understand. And that's kind of off brand for you and me, as we've started the Limp Ditka's podcast and our baseball podcast, Major League A-Holes in the Hole, essentially because you and I hate each other's sports teams, and we talk about multiple teams and rip on each other and find ways to go against each other in many ways. So I don't think it would make sense for you to pick the Panthers in that regard. Off brand in a way. So I want to start the rivalry with the Pittsburgh Maulers because we are the two largest social media followings, and it's the closest geographical team. But I can't see you necessarily rooting for a team in Pittsburgh randomly.
If they were the Pittsburgh Maulers, like
MALL?
MALL, then yes. But the
You're a big
Maulers,
mall rat?
yeah. If that would have been a lock. That would have been
like
a lock.
that.
How about this? Here's what I'm going to do.
I've got a bunch of ideas, but yeah, let me know. Let me know what you're thinking.
For the sake of this podcast, and I'm going to review the USFL teams.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick Detroit. I will review the USFL teams, and next week, report back to you on who I'm taking as of this moment until they expand and put something somewhere that I have interest in.
All right.
Who is going to be my team against the what's the name of it? Michigan Panthers. I actually knew what it was. I'm just fucking around.
Well, I have started your study. I appreciate that you are taking the bit and running with it. That'll be great to see what you come up with next week. But I can get you started at least with the Cliff Notes version.
Okay.
I don't know about the Maulers. They do have a cool logo. I think you'll like.
That's probably what I'm going to end up picking. It may end up being the Maulers. It'll probably be the coolest logo. I'm going to go all the way back to being 5 years old again.
Yeah.
And picking the coolest logo.
There are the Philadelphia Stars there in Pennsylvania who lost to the Panthers in the inaugural championship and actually won the second championship. So you could say they're the most successful team in USFL history. I don't think you have any interest in the city of Philadelphia, as they are your rival of your Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I definitely don't have any because of the people there too. They're just
that might be
assholes. They're assholes.
There are the New Jersey Generals.
Oh, that's an original team.
Yeah, they had the Herschel Walker, who was a former Cowboy. So there's a tie-in there. There's also original ownership in the 80s by Donald Trump, which may or may not.
That sours it a bit.
Yeah, that might. We don't get into politics here, but that is definitely a factor in the New Jersey Generals being in the new USFL that may or may not bring fans to them or away from them. In the Southern Division, we have the Tampa Bay Bandits. which were owned by none other than Burt Reynolds, the Bandit himself, of Smokey and the Bandit fame. I know you're a Sharky's Machine fan.
I am a Sharky's Machine. Anyone who isn't is just an asshole.
That was one of our first conversations. I mean, 25 years ago when we first became friends somehow.
That's Burt Reynolds, and folks, that's Burt Reynolds at his finest. If you could actually find it, I suggest watching it.
We actually need to bring our buddy Joe onto this at some point because he might be the world's biggest Burt Reynolds aficionado.
Yeah,
he's a huge Smokey and the Bandit fan.
Maybe we'll do a show live from Vegas.
We could. Well, that brings up the Houston Gamblers.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
They have a cool logo. They had Jim Kelly on their team back in the day. They are in the state of Texas, where your Dallas Cowboys reside. So I don't know if you were interested in the Houston Gamblers, as we
I might headed to
Vegas in a couple weeks for your birthday party. New Orleans Breakers.
Wait, as in dancing?
It's not breakdancing. That would be kind of cool.
There's so many opportunities here. Better than it could have been the Pittsburgh Maulers. Yeah,
we were at
the Breakers.
Yeah, this is why you're not in football sports branding at all.
What do you mean? Don't.
We did have an awesome bachelor party 15 years ago for our buddy Jason Markison in New Orleans. So I don't know if that might spark some interest.
I think the name of the team would have been different if it was stemmed off of that.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to say on air what the possible names of the team would have been.
There's lots of directions you can go with that. Shit, I'm blank. This is terrible. I'm running a USFL podcast and I'm blanking on the final team name in the South there. Oh, well, it's not the Memphis Showboats. Well, regardless, it will not be your team name. So, or your team fandom. So yeah, that's to get you started, to find your USFL team, as that's going to be what the USFL is going to be trying to do over these next few months, get people interested in their league and picking their rooting interests.
The Stallions or something?
Oh,
yeah, the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah, I mentioned them before. That's why I drew a blank. Birmingham Stallions, the home team where all their games will be at home. So they have the built-in advantage, home field advantage, whatever that means.
It means a lot, I think.
So yeah, I appreciate you buying into this, at least for the moment. So do your research over the week and get back to us next week.
All right.
Word Hole Media.